Hey, nice car, man.
Hey, thank you. Yeah, I just picked this up today.
This is C7 Gen, right?
C7 Gen. No, this is actually an RS7.
Right. Anyway, it sounds pretty good. What kind of a tune you got going on?
Tune? Actually, no, I'm just listening to a Spotify radio playlist. You know, they make those like, this is a workout one. Sounds great though through the Bose, I agree.
Right. At least it's got Quattro, right?
Quattro? Yeah, Quattro, Cinco. You can pick the language, you just have to go to the menus.
Right. Anyway, I've got some blinker fluid for sale here. Are you interested? Oh my God. Unbelievable. What an idiot. Wait, what?
You're watching Throttle House. I'm Thomas.
And I'm James.
And this is the brand new Audi RS7.
And this is the 2016 Audi RS7. And right now, you can get one for almost 100,000 Canadian dollars less than the one Thomas is in. In this case, $71,000 less. A dollar divide that would be even greater if this weren't the upgraded performance package, which back in 2016 ran you $141,000. Now, it's half that. Among other enhancements, the performance package got you more horsepower, 605 in total, and 553 pound-feet of torque. It is a Quattro monster. So a huge thank you to the wonderful team at Toronto Auto Brokers for letting us feature it today.
So, the new C8 generation RS7, no relation to the Corvette. Longer, sleeker, wider, less powerful than James's performance version at 591 horsepower. But because of progress through technology, it now has 590 pound-feet of torque. And at $140,000, it's rimming with tech.
Thomas, do you mean brimming with a B?
Oh yeah, I thought that sounded wrong. Anyway, exciting news. For this video, we've partnered with Omaze to give away a brand new Audi RS6, the wagon version of the RS7, and $20,000. We'll talk about it more at the end, but all you need to know right now is for your chance to enter, go to omaze.com/throttlehouse. If you're new to Throttle House, we do car reviews, track tests, and quite a lot of messing around. So subscribe and hit the bell.
Fast Audis are kind of like those bullet trains in Europe. You just kind of get to absurd speeds, but then they just sort of exist beneath you. Just this kind of thundering, cruising constantness. That's not a word. But the cool thing about RS Audis is that you get to enjoy getting 2-speed, like this. Okay, 0 to 60 test using a draggy. Okay, I'm gonna turn control off, launch mode. These things lift their front end and there's, okay. All right, that was 3.37 seconds. Let's see James try and beat that.
Okay, that new one's pretty good and it does a pretty good launch, but this is the performance. That is quick. Look at the draggy. 3.25 seconds. Heh. And yes, before you ask, it's from the exact same spot as Thomas's run. All that thanks to a twin-turbo 4-litre V8. I know Thomas has got one of those as well, but this one makes sounds that his doesn't. throttle, and as you let off and downshift, it makes poppity pops on the overrun. But even though there is some drama to the noise and a ridiculous push, Audis deliver power in a more subtle way than something like the M5 that this competed with, or the E63S. The best way to describe it is that the M5 and the E63S are more like a speedboat. They're frantic, they're crazy. This is more like a well-designed catamaran with a massive sail on it, and that when you put your foot down, it just catches a lot of wind. Oh, torque. 553 pounds of it, which is not nearly as impressive as the 605 horsepower number that this gets. Which, by the way, is more than Thomas has in the 2021 model.
Don't forget, his is the performance version. You can't get a performance version of this one yet. And this weighs 500 pounds more. And a tenth of a second difference. Ain't that bad. But I do like the way that the power is delivered in one of these. It's so smooth. This has 2 twin-scroll turbochargers in the V. The response of the engine is incredible. The transmission sometimes takes a minute to respond when you put your foot down, but if you click it down into sport mode, or if you set your RS mode on your steering wheel to have everything in the most aggressive setting, then the car responds very, very well. And it sounds pretty good. It's not the most dramatic, but I'm pretty sure I can hear the pops and bangs from James's car from here. Yeah, his definitely makes a better noise than this, but what he hasn't got, and the advantage that I have, is the latest suspension technology.
The RS7 comes standard with Audi's adaptive air suspension, and since this is the RS model, the air springs are 50% stiffer. It's a pretty amazing system, actually. It will hunker down at speeds for aerodynamics, or raise automatically if the road gets rough. However, there is a suspension system that's even better, called Dynamic Ride Control. That uses hydraulic lines that go from one corner of the car to the other to transfer fluid, so the opposing wheel, when it compresses, the other one holds steady and it keeps the car flat in the corners. Audi's very proud of it. It's very cool, until you realize that it's pretty much the exact same system that came on our janky 2008 4Runner that our cameraman is standing on top of right now.
Really?
Really. However, I don't have that suspension, and actually we've replaced it in the 4Runner with some aftermarket stuff. But this is really, really nice. This is the way a big, fast Audi should be. If I put this in comfort mode, it sets itself up in such a way that I float over the bumps. It's really, really supple. And then even in dynamic mode, it doesn't get too aggressive, it doesn't shake your teeth out, but it controls itself through the corners in a really predictable way. Really like the suspension in this, but I'm pretty sure that James is having a different experience.
So yeah, this does have the 4Runner tech, but this is a better executed version. More money has gone into this one. And it does change a lot in each mode. I'm in dynamic and sport right now, and I can really feel the bumps. It's surprisingly bumpy. And then when I switch it down into comfort, I want it to become a cruising machine. And even though it is much improved, it really doesn't compare, nor does it compare in insulation. It's actually quite loud in here. But back in dynamic mode, it controls its body really well. Turn to a corner, and there's a little bit of Audi understeer, and this steering, you know, Audi's very good at making luxury style steering, but in this case, they went too far. It's really vague. Like, I can accept lightness when it feels really accurate. This is vague. I don't know where those front wheels are, so I don't have nearly as much confidence cornering. But thanks to the Quattro, I have a lot of confidence putting my foot down.
Now, we've driven one of these, well, the RS6 with the wagon, on the track, and it was, and I said, one of the best, probably the best handling Audi, other than an R8, I've ever driven. This car is very similar to that. The fact that it doesn't have the dynamic whatever suspension is not a bad thing, because it just stays so flat through the corners, and it kind of naturally rotates a little bit. And Audi did allow a little bit of bias to the rear wheels on throttle, so you can kind of rotate it coming out of the corner. We'll overlay a track shot of that right now in the wagon. It's a fun Audi to drive, and the steering is okay. I think this is as good as Audi steering gets. Still too light, still too numb, but I don't mind it.
So it puts down the power confidently, doesn't have the best steering, doesn't actually have the best rider insulation, but for the money, it is a lot of car. Oh, hang on, sorry, it has soft close.
Oh yes.
If I'm not going to listen to myself, who can I listen to? There we go, because they're fancy.
What do you think of these in general, like the concept of them?
Honestly, I kind of love them.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
When this first came out, this came out when I moved to Toronto, so it was like one of the first new cars when I got here, and it looked like definitely an older man's car,
yes.
but it looked like a fast executive thing.
Okay. So for me, I like the idea of the big, long wheelbase, cushy Audi, but with all the extra power, it just kind of feels like putting like 5 patties on a hamburger or something, right?
I've seen you put 5 patties on a hamburger, and you've wolfed it down.
Yeah, no, that's
a
true.
terrible example.
That's true. I have done that. Okay, but let's talk about the looks. Move away from performance. Let's talk about the looks, because it's very important when you get a car like this.
Yes.
It's a really important part of the ownership experience.
I think they look established. The person who owns this,
Established.
The person
That's a
who
good
owns
word.
this also has one of those boat in a bottle things, right? It's kind of
This is your ideal, like your fantasy Audi owner.
Yeah, you
He's
use
got
like
the boat.
naval metaphors day in, day out. I don't know.
Okay.
It really works, but what's the best thing about them is that they're Audi in the sleeper sense, right?
Yes.
I don't know. We live in a very friendly, safe place called Canada, but having grown up on the streets in London.
Oh yeah,
as
you
we
had a
know,
real rough
yeah.
upbringing. Yeah, we know that. Yeah.
People who had these cars, because they look like sleepers,
Yeah.
debadged them.
Oh.
So it looked like an A7. And the
Oh,
same was
okay.
true for the other RS.
And then it goes.
So yeah, but no one knows
Yeah.
until you put your foot down, or until you see like a carbon fiber diffuser. And I think
Yeah.
that's what these things do best at.
Yeah, no, I agree. They're definitely like that sleeper vibe. There's nothing, even this one, which they've kind of gone overboard with the front grille, in my opinion, with this bit and like all the styling and the carbon fiber and these really cool lights that do a dance.
The lights are epic. I think the car looks great. This is strange the way. I mean, I know you don't like these transformers.
No, I've pointed them out before. I don't like them.
But the way this grille comes down, hits a shelf, and then carries on.
It's a strange mix
Right.
of
Whereas
things.
this is nice and
Clean.
smooth.
It's simple.
This is, we've done a lot of old versus news.
Yes.
This is the least aged window we've done from 2016
Yes.
to 2021.
Absolutely.
Does that
yeah.
make any sense? Least aged window.
Least aged window. Okay. The point is that usually old versus new is about like, what can you get for super, super cheap?
Yes.
But this, we couldn't resist because the depreciation is just, right?
Yeah.
And
The depreciation is bad. But it means you get a lot of car for the money. The first generation of this was 2013.
Right.
So we've cheated a bit here.
Yeah.
This is the facelift that came with 2016. So we've got the
Yes.
newer lights. It's not massively different,
Right.
but it just looks a bit smarter. And then obviously this is the first year of the performance package. So
Yeah, I just think that in general, proportionally, this is a better looking vehicle. And like, if you look from the side, this one has more of like the fastback kind of thing. This looks more sedan-like from this angle. I just noticed this right now, actually.
I tell you what, if I had to pick a favorite, I'd get the wagon. And we never had the wagon in North America.
Exactly. The
for this
wagon
generation.
is 100% the answer.
wagon
I
is
feel like.
everything.
Yeah. And in the rear end, the tail lights are very different. I
Yeah.
don't really dig the new. It's kind of
No, I'm with you. I think
bar
it looks
is
a bit strange.
a bit weird.
This is better in the rear.
It's like a dog bone on the back of the car.
It does look like
Yeah. Can we look at the interior?
Yeah.
Okay. Soft close.
If you got anything out of driving these cars, even if they're not for you,
Yeah.
the fact that we leave today and you've used soft close.
I remembered soft
It's a
close.
big thing.
That's the first time it's ever happened in Throttle House history.
All right.
Okay, we've kind of done this interior a couple times in other
It's
cars.
just new
right?
Audi, yeah.
It's the new Audi interior,
Screens on piano black on piano black.
right? Yes, there's a lot of all those things. I do like the gauge cluster. But honestly, the most impressive part about this is the black levels of the screens, because in between all of the stuff that's on the screens, it looks like it isn't a screen. That's what gives it the upmarket feel.
No, it looks great. It has the haptic feedback, so when you press stuff,
Yeah, you feel
there's
it.
a definite press, yeah.
Yeah,
Help.
and help. Don't call anybody. Okay, and down here, if you click this, it kind of like kicks the whole console with a big haptic feedback punch. Isn't that weird?
That's aggressive.
It's a really aggressive. Some people don't like that. I really like the haptic feedback because it's a touchscreen. You need to have some sort of, feedback that you've pushed a button.
Well, I was thinking about this because first of all, the volume button is still physical.
It's still a knob.
But these things start to become, when they are digital, there is that extra jump, especially when you're driving, to reach over and press it. But I don't understand how manufacturers can make it look modern without going the screen way. Like how? Otherwise,
you're asking how is it possible?
If every single one of these things was a physical button, it would look ridiculous.
Yes, it would. It would be just filled with buttons, and that's honestly the problem. Is I think there's a trend. What this is a trend. We're seeing a trend of screens.
What do you mean?
I think I
feel like you actually you just discovered the word trend. Like
I'm just saying it over and over again.
Looking at my dictionary is a trend.
No, okay. What I mean is that I think it's a trend. In 4 or 5 years, you're going to see a lot more physical buttons come back on these types of things, right? Because people complain about them enough. And
have you been in the EVs recently? It's all iPads.
I know, and it's fine, but I would, many things, I want physical buttons. Anyway, we've complained about that at length before. Steering wheel, not heated because it's the flat bottom.
Yeah.
Like, why?
For 150 grand?
For 150 grand.
It's like child beauty pageants. It shouldn't be a thing anymore.
Exactly right, yeah.
Very comfortable seats.
The seats are really nice, obviously, right? This one doesn't have an Alcantara headliner. It can be optional.
And we also haven't got the extra Bang & Olufsen premium surround.
With a little thing that sticks up,
the
right?
tweeters, this is just the normal one.
That.
And it is okay.
The sound system?
It's okay.
Yeah, it's okay. It's good enough.
It's loud,
is what it is.
so you can rock out. But one thing you do lose by not having the wagon is headroom in the rear seats.
It's not very good, is it?
No.
No. It's kind of a thing.
But if you want the look,
you
want to look sleek, and you want it to match the boats in a bottle, then this is all you got.
I feel like you've just decided that people who drive these Audis have boats and bottles.
All right, let's
it's not a thing.
I ordered one, all right? The boat, not the Audi.
You ordered an Audi
Let's
too.
go see what it was like 5 years ago.
Okay. Soft close. I remembered.
Soft close.
I'm proud of myself. I don't know.
All right, turning the engine on, because when I do,
wow,
it gets it up.
Gets it up. Oh God.
So
okay.
It is quite dated in here, considering we're not going that far back in time.
Yes.
But it has some details that I really, really like.
Okay.
So as part of the package, we get blue stitching.
Wow.
Right, and it's blue stitching here, blue
there.
stitching on the steering wheel.
Yep.
But are you ready for me to really blow your mind?
Okay.
Look at the carbon fiber. There's a blue vein. Going throughout. Which is
that is pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I do think that the polished carbon fiber starts to look dated now.
Yeah.
Whereas the new one has an exposed carbon
raw
fiber.
carbon fiber is very nice.
It's more subtle.
I will say that my favorite part of this interior is this one was optioned with an Alcantara headliner, and it's not just it's stitched. It's a flat stitch. Did I get that right? Is that a flat stitch? I don't know. I'm a sucker for a good stitch.
Only stitch I know is Lilo and Stitch.
Yeah. So. And this is a really good stitch. It looks very upmarket from.
So just remind yourself, this is below 70 Canadian, which is probably like. How good do you think you can do a US conversion off the top of your head?
Oh God, 70. It's like.
I think it's 69,000 Canadian. I'm going to say it's 56 US.
That's probably. I'm going to say 53.
Okay, so that's. We've probably already said what it is.
Actually, technically, over the course of a year, one of us is going to be correct at each point because it goes like this. The dollar goes up and down.
A broken clock is right twice a day.
Exactly, yeah.
But we have Audi build quality in here.
Yep.
It feels really, really solid. This is kind of like, before there were so many functions, this is when we did have physical buttons.
Yes, and I appreciate it, and I appreciate it very much.
And also the buttons that you didn't pay for, or that they just put in
they
anyway.
just leave them in,
Things that don't do anything,
No, this is the least new looking part, I think, right? They got a whole touchpad down here for some numbers for the radio. That's a bit dated because everything's Apple CarPlay and Android Auto these days, obviously.
So yeah, if you go into the main menus, this is when it starts to look really dated.
Yep.
Like black levels go out the window. Even the car isn't sharp. Go to navigation though.
Yep.
And this pad that we were talking about with the radio suddenly
Yes.
becomes a multi-function pad.
Wow.
So you can draw. So if I go J. 5. I think that's because I did with the house number bit. It was just trying to, yeah.
It was really adamant about that
Really
part.
advanced stuff.
But I like the gauges. They're very Audi R8.
Well, this was pre-virtual cockpit.
Yes.
And at the time, other models were starting to get the virtual cockpit.
Right.
So you could still get virtual cockpit NV when this came out.
Right. Yeah. No,
But yeah.
I like the big numbers. I like the steering wheel. I think that this leather has aged very nicely, hasn't
It
it?
hasn't gone black and
Hasn't
shiny.
gone black and shiny. It's got still that kind of matte vibe.
But that
to
could be depending on how people have looked after it.
Anyway, back seats in this one as well, a little bit
Compromised.
Yeah, a little bit compromised.
Yeah.
But I mean, seats are very comfortable.
Smaller sunroof.
Yeah. I like this. I think it's nice. Can I drive it though?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, that's quicker. Yep. That's fun. The one thing, for some reason, that Audis do really, really well is tap off the limiter in a dramatic fashion. I know you shouldn't do that, I'm sorry, but it's really cool. All right, into a corner. Steering's not good. Not at all. There's not a whole lot of communication coming from any part of this car. Interesting, yeah. There's almost no weight to the steering. It's completely overboosted.
Okay, in the new one. I've pretty much already driven this car because it's identical to the RS6. Audi has an easier time improving on their product because they don't lose any heart and soul. When they set out to make comfortable, fast cruisers, that's actually getting easier as we head into modern times. And this succeeds at that. It's better damped. The steering is more accurate. The power comes on similarly, and even though it doesn't sound as loud, still sounds pretty good. The steering is better. It's not as vague as the old one, or as Thomas would say, vague. Vague?
Vague.
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 Why are you saying vague?
Vague. V-A. Shut up.
It's damped better. It cruises better. It's not nearly as loud in the cabin. On the highway at 110 kilometers an hour, it's nice and silent. You could whisper to your passenger. And that's what I want out of an RS7, which makes this the best RS7 I've ever driven.
Okay, here's what I think of these two cars. They're incredibly efficient at what they do. Fast, straight, comfortable luxury. But I think after driving a lot of these now, I've landed on the same conclusion that I always had. If you want an ultra performance sedan or wagon or whatever it is, the E63S or maybe the M5 is the one to buy, because these do not offer enough in the way of engagement to warrant all the extra fuel you're burning and the cost. That said though, this one's really super cheap, so it's kind of hard to argue with. If you want a highway crushing, good looking car, I think this might be the one to get.
The RS7 then is still the king of mild-mannered super sedans. Until the performance variant comes out for this new C8 generation, the 2016 Performance is quicker out of the box, and a lot cheaper now. But if refinement, tech, and insulation are up there with speed in your priority list of Audi cocktail, and money is no object, the new one is the best one yet.
And if you ask us, even cooler in wagon form, which is why we've partnered with Omaze to give away a new RS6. For your chance to win the car and $20,000, go to omaze.com/throttlehouse to enter. Also, if you enter the code ThrottleHouse150, you get an extra 150 entries. Not only do your entries give you a chance to win, but they also go toward helping a great cause. In this case, it's the Peterson Automotive Museum, a museum dedicated to exploring and presenting the history of the automobile and its impact on global life and culture. So go to omaze.com/throttlehouse, donate, and good luck. Thanks for watching.